Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 8th September 2020, and these are the articles that we'll be dealing today. The first article for the day is taken from the Hindu and it is titled Empower the Youth First. If we take a look at our demographic composition, a significant amount of our population is between the age group of 15 to 40. And specifically, if we talk from the policy perspective, we would be looking at an age group of 15 to 29. So this segment is technically called as youth as defined in the National Youth Policy that came out in 2014. So this article tries to look at the investment that the governments are making in tandem with the requirement of the population. So just to put things into context, if we take into consideration the amount of money spent on youth, roughly it amounts to 1% of the total GDP. If you're talking about Atmanirbharta or self-reliance, unless and until our youth are competent enough to push our economy forward and also push this agenda of Atmanirbharta, it is not really possible. Considering the fact that we are just investing 1% of our GDP on our youth, we have to increase our investments and also spend more money, especially when it comes to their education, skilling and healthcare. In this particular article, the author quotes the study of State of Working India report and brings us certain startling statistics. For example, we have in our country at least 3.47 crore youth who are not employed, and 30% of them are neither in education nor in employment. And also we have 33% of India's skilled youth who are unemployed. Also we have every year 50 lakh students entering into the workforce after their graduating. At the same time, we also have India's youth labor force participation at just 38.3%. This shows that the country is just not in a position to provide the gainful employment that youth are aspiring for. If we take into consideration the period between 2004 to 2012 or 2010 rather, this period has witnessed a slight reduction in the demand for government jobs because the private sector was booming back then. So people had various avenues and opportunities to avail their potential and grow in their life. But ever since, less and less number of jobs are created, and considering the fact that every year 50 lakh students are graduating, the competition for gainful employment is increasing. Naturally, when the private sector is not in a position to generate so many jobs, we will be in a precarious situation where there is a disproportionate competition for government jobs, and at the same time, the quality of wages in private sector has been coming down significantly. This coupled with a demand reduction is definitely not helping the situation. For all this, the central most important aspect is investing on youth. If we have a formidable workforce, we can create the economy which will immediately spur the demand. So in order to ensure that the spirit of Atmanirbharta or self-reliance is realized, we have to invest on our youth. So what does the article writer suggest in this context? There is a program of European Union. When the unemployment level reached 20% there, they started a youth guarantee program. So the writer believes that if India can also come up with such a youth guarantee program which has a statutory basis, it will solve the problem of unemployment and job creation to a certain extent. Now how do you fund this during the time of fund crunch? So author believes that just like how we have a separate heading in our budget for line items on SCs and STs, say for example the tribal subplan and the subplan for scheduled castes, similarly we should have a subplan for youth. In this, the nodal agency should be the district administration. We have to follow a bottom up approach. At the same time, as far as planning is concerned, we have to strategically plan the strengths of each and every state. Therefore, it requires a coordination between the center and the state. And this can be achieved through an organization like Niti Aayog. So, if Niti Aayog can come up with a index, say for example Youth Development Index, and if the funds are related to the performance of states on Youth Development Index, then we can ensure that the objectives of the various schemes which are targeted towards the youth reach the youth properly. Now, the focus here should be not just disbursing the amount, we have to learn from the experience of Manrega. Despite being a monumental scheme, only 4% of the youth availed that scheme because they didn't find it attractive enough. At the same time, it has indeed empowered a lot of poor women from SC and ST background. So similarly, if we can come up with a plan which gains the trust of the youth, including the skilled workforce, we will be able to tap our potential. Therefore, this institutional framework is the need of the hour. That is the gist of this article. The next article for the day is taken from the Live Mint and it is titled Reduce State Level Regulatory Cholesterol to Aid Job Creation. If we take our factors of production, namely land, labor, capital, both human capital, financial capital, and the new dimension of social capital, all these have a bearing on the center and state relations. For example, land is a state subject, and if India wants to attract investments, land should be a issue that can be handled so easily. So for that, there should be uniformity of policy across the states, and for that, center and states should coordinate to make it a easy process for land acquisition. Similarly, when we are talking about labor, both center and states have a responsibility to ensure that labor laws compliance is very easy. Similarly, when we are talking about access to capital, the state and center both have a responsibility to invest in human capital and creating the kind of ecosystem needed for companies to thrive. They have to find workforce that is skillful. Similarly, when we are talking about financial access, ease of credit should be there in our ecosystem. At the same time, it is the responsibility of both the center and states to work together to build that trust and social capital required for companies to thrive. There should be policy certainty. For all this and to aid job creation, it is imperative to make states a partner in our developmental narrative. What is the impact of this skewed pattern of division of powers and the compliance burden imposed on the factories? So firstly, it is leading to a growth in informal sector, because if the company goes for contractual employment, it can save a lot of costs. If it goes for a formal employment, the compliance burden increases multifold. Last year's economic survey talked about dwarf companies, wherein many companies try to remain small and not achieve the economies of scale required for the growth in an economy because of the compliance burden. Say for example, if companies cross a threshold of for example 100 people, the set of norms followed for such people and the set of norms which are meant to be complied by the company completely changes. So the companies don't have the economies of scale and they strive to remain small. Thirdly, we are talking about a scenario where trade is the engine of growth. Now, most of the MSME sector companies strive to remain small and therefore remain uncompetitive with respect to exports. If we have to improve our export competitiveness, it is important to empower the companies, and especially the states should be taking the initiative to reduce this compliance burden. But it doesn't necessarily mean that labor laws and environmental safety regulations can be completely ignored. The point here is there should be a definite timeline and an ease of process in ensuring that all the regulatory requirements are met in a timeline. As seen in May 13th report on Atmanirbhar Bharat, The government rightly recognizes MSME sector as the driver of future economic growth. It is an imperative for our country to grow the MSMEs into larger companies for wider employment and also for domestic consumption. We have to reduce our import dependency and also increase our exports. That will be possible when we empower the states and increase their revenue. For that, corruption is one issue that needs to be handled on a priority. So there is a definite requirement for the center and states to work on this issue of corruption, and a clear accountability and transparency mechanism should be established. For this, digitization of records is a way forward. That is the gist of this article.